Anyway, but everybody thinks that this is a cakewalk for you, right? So you've come back to training, right? But other than distance, right? What are some of the hurdles or problems that you have with being a long distance student? And again, it's regional. It's not
Yeah.
across the country or on the other side of the planet like Maury and some of these other guys, right? But
Uh,
this is not a spoon fed kind of
no,
thing.
no, it's a one of my biggest issues, especially because adulthood kind of hit me with zero time availability. I mean, I was in university and then I was in university
No,
and now I have
and
two
you have a
jobs.
job and all, so you
Yeah.
don't have the same kind of
So,
scheduling problem everybody else has.
yeah, yeah. So, I mean, one of my biggest issues is because so much of what I do is so intellectually based, is pulling myself away from my notes on my computer or my, deep dives into the library and stuff like that. And
Well, how's that different from anybody else having to pull away from whatever it is,
right, it's well
right? Binge
forcing
watching
myself
the
to enter
same
the
movie on
physical.
Netflix for,
Right.
you know,
So forcing myself to enter the physical and carving out time that respects the necessity for that, because one thing that I'm really leaning into is if you're going to do something, it's because you respect the outcome, so respect the process.
Hmm.
And that's something that I'm struggling with a little bit, because it's so I don't just have 3 classes a week and I have a set time and a set date and a set person and a set curriculum. A lot of what I've been doing is I've been working through the online courses, many, like most of the long distance students, and kind of working my way through things. And unfortunately, because I was gone for so long, most of my frame of reference is from the TOTS program and the
the
the,
kids
the
program.
kids program.
Yeah.
And so going back through and trying to relate what I think I know to what's now being offered without always the benefit of being able to raise my hand and ask the
And your
question right
dad's
then and
not at the
there,
same understanding level as he was.
right as you were then.
Yeah.
So that's one of my biggest issues on the physical
Now,
side.
here's something you brought up something earlier. The Catholic influence and them
Mhm.
not liking certain things and pulling you away and whatever, right? Um, uh, Victor had posted something just the other day about things that get in the way, right?
Mhm.
And people were listing things and whatever, right? And my contribution, and there were 3 things that I contributed, but one specifically was, and people in your life who demand that you quit or give up the path for them, and they may not use those words, right? But it could be deterrence. It could be, and I think I use deterrence and things like that,
Mhm.
right? But it's you're taking time from us. You're taking time, whatever, right? Um, have you experienced anything like that?
Uh, I mean, when I was younger, I mean, I'm a product of divorce. I'm a child of divorce, and so, in or very early on when we first moved away, there was no opportunity given to work it back into my schedule, to drive the hour to come out here, that sort of thing. There was no incentive to stay. And then as I got older, a big factor when you're in university is limited finances, and so gas to get home and stuff like that was a big factor with that. There wasn't so much a
But didn't you have access to the videos or whatever at that time, or no?
no, I didn't. I
You
only
just
got
had notes
access
from
within
coming in.
Georgetown.
You just had
Yeah.
notes and things from coming into
When I was in
seminars and
Indiana, all I had was every now and then I would come into seminars for camps and stuff like that. And
just practicing with what you had.
right. One big factor that I didn't realize until much later, I had mentioned that I left a long term relationship. Um, he liked to remind me of how small I was, staturally. Um, and he was into Brazilian Jiu Jitsu and stuff like that. And would constantly try to diminish what I was working on. And I felt kind of stuck, not because I felt that, what I was learning wasn't of value or anything like that, but because I had been in Shinobi Kai from a young age.
Hmm.
And I understood there was a difference and a disconnect between the sport fighting that he was learning and the killing skills that I was learning. And when you're play fighting with your boyfriend, you can't really whip a kill shot on somebody, which is what I had been learning. And so there was a
But you
big,
did some things that deterred him from.
well, one time he turned a little purple, and then he kind of was like, okay. But it was a bit of a weird social pressure that I had not experienced before. Of, I can't prove to you without becoming an enemy
Mm,
that this is
mm,
of value. And
mm.
also, I was raised, like
We've
I
often
said,
talked about that not being willing to do to another human being
well, not that didn't need it or
certain
deserved it.
right,
Yeah.
to do certain things who was not actually attacking you. That's
Right.
why most of us don't get involved in sport things,
Mm-mm.
because we're not willing to damage another human being
Nope.
for a trophy or a check or an ego feel good.
Nope.
I don't knock anybody who does that, right? Because if that's what they need, by all means. I have a student, guy 6'5", big. He was a wrestler his entire life and whatnot.
Mhm.
He took time off from training and got involved in jujitsu and stuff like
Mhm.
that. As a matter of fact, I think it was the spring camp before you did your fall thing. I think James can set me straight on this one. He did a breakout session for us on jujitsu ground
Oh, I remember hearing about
kind
that.
of stuff.
I
Yeah,
wasn't here for that.
but at the same time, at the end of the class, he was still lying on the floor, and he said, "But please remember, right? While this is something that I think everybody should be good at, there's certain things that you can do and you can't do, and we don't start standing for the most part, right? And if we do, it's to go to the ground quickly and do
Mhm.
these things, right? Um, you, he's teaching certain things,
Mhm.
and there's a lot of things that we are not allowed to do.
Mhm.
That if you don't get the training or you don't think about it in that situation, you're not going to have this thing to pull out to use on somebody who you
Mhm.
know you need to stop. So anyway,
Right.
yeah. So it's all good, but I guess my point with this is we all have our unique things that
Mhm.
prevents us from getting training and whatnot, right?
Right.
Um, I Some people have said, "Oh my God, man, you do so much. Like I can't keep up. You've got KUDEN, you got Whiteboard Wednesdays, you've got Ninpo Masterclass Tuesday and Friday nights.
Mhm.
You've got all these things. Like as a student, holy shit! Like how do I keep up? You don't, right? Or you set things aside and you label them, and then when you hit a point where you're researching certain things, or that comes up on the curriculum, then oh shit, look, I
Mhm.
can pull that out and I can listen to it or whatever. Um, but you you check in
Well,
during work, you
I
check
mean,
in during
this is also a similar thing that I think a lot of academics experience and kind of run face first into the wall of, is what you are putting out is accumulation of what, 40 years of study and experience and that
a
sort of
little
thing.
over.
Right. And so, but people expect to be able to take all this in and master it within whatever time frame they've ideally set for themselves. Academics do the same thing. I mean, my dissertation plans are to study the historical evolution of leadership and government loyalty between both Eastern and Western systems, going as far back as records exist. I am not going to be like, I'm going to give you a reading list during fall camp. I'm not going to be a master of all these texts and their nuances by then. It's in October. So, I'm but
And for
the
anybody for context is listening audio only, we're recording this August 25th of 2025.
yeah.
So
So,
it's almost the end of August,
I have like a
almost
month.
at the end of October, right? Is
Yeah.
when she'll be doing this
So,
thing,
but
right?
but
So
the idea is that a true academic walks into their field knowing that this is going to take their entire life, and even then they will only be a stone in the wall for the field at large, because we are not, humanity has only existed for so long, but there is still too much for a single being to produce and learn within a single lifetime. It's simply impossible. So, knowing you are walking into your own death of learning
yeah,
or through learning is extremely
but
peaceful.
it's the Musha Shugyo as well, right? The warrior's path, right, or the warrior's quest, right? It's venturing into the unknown and
Mhm.
figuring it all out. Now, like you said earlier, lots of people will come to a point where this is enough for me.
Mhm.
This is good, right?
And I don't fault
fantastic.
them for that.
Absolutely not.
Sometimes I wish I had that
Absolutely
button
not.
of
Yeah. So my thing, because my approach is always on self protection and whatnot, is it's enough for that stage, right? So have you made plans or trained or put things in place for when you are older, you are weaker, arthritis is, taking over the hips and knees and those kind of things. Not that I'm speaking from uh, experience, or the amount of damage and scarring and whatnot, internally and externally, that the body has taken because of a life in a certain job or vocation or whatever, right? Not just in law enforcement, military, and things like that. Um, Things take their toll, right? And so, you know, where is enough, right? Um, because again, just like when I said, the older you get, the less I'm going to be around you. It doesn't relinquish my responsibility to make sure that you're safe, and that I did that by making sure that you had the skills, whether you wanted them or not.
right.
Right. Um, Same thing, right? Whether whether I'm whether I'm past my wall climbing phase or whatever, right? Does not mean that there isn't a jackwagon out there that isn't going to jump the old fat bald guy, either because he finds out that, oh, you think you have a black belt, you're gonna whatever, right?
Or because now you're of
Or
a target population.
because I'm in a target population that
they assume
they
is
find is
harmless.
an easy target,
Yeah.
right? So, but then I heard this statement once, and we're going to kind of round this out. We'll take some questions and comments and whatnot, but um, I don't know if we took you or not, but there is a an art display called Body Works. There's another one called Body Worlds. There is a German scientist, I think he just passed away, who plasticizes people, right? Drains out all their blood and all that kind of stuff, and he has this plastic resin kind of stuff that he injects into their body and creates different things. It's post-mortem
Okay.
stuff. Yeah.
Sorry, my criminology brain just went to that's a weird way to kill
But there
people.
is a there's a sub display within this thing. The last place that your stepmom and I went, when my wife Angela and I went, was at the Ben Franklin Museum in Philadelphia. Okay, I think it's still there. As a matter of fact, she donated her body to that process, but she did leave it in her will that I could change it if I want. But
can I get her brain scans?
She wanted to be the first gastric bypass patient that he did. Anyway, I don't know. Anyway, so weird family, right? So they have a sub thing on the brain, its development and growth and all that kind of stuff, and how. And I'm coming up on it, right? Somewhere around the age of 65, your brain starts shrinking. And so the phrase that sticks with me is, and I think it stuck out because this is about ninjutsu, right? The phrase was, after that age, figuring out how to do the same or more with less, because you're going to have less. The brain doesn't just shrink and hold on to everything, right? And so that's what Hasmi says he's been teaching for decades, right? I mean, the man is still uber lucid brain wise, and he's wheelchair bound, but groups still go to Japan, take him out to lunch and all that, and everybody brags about, like, he's showing nuances on like a gyakute, or he's describing certain things within the psychological realm or whatever, right? So he's still teaching, right? And but how do we? And I think that stuff, Mushin, Furoshin, Heijoshin, the Ninja no Uge, influence, deception, manipulation, those kind of things, right? Those are the kind of things where if you end up where you can't move that fast, or I have a couple of friends, there's other peers and whatnot within the art that several of them, right? Um, Dealing with cancer and stuff. I mean, Pedro Filitas. I mean, everybody's kind of held him in high esteem for decades, right? He's from Spain, right? Just found out recently that he's battling with cancer, right? And so, and whether it's the cancer or not, the chemo's, God, it's a fucking train wreck, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, how do you keep doing things even though the state's different? And that's why, and that Hatsumi Sensei learned this lesson coming out of his stomach cancer problem, intestinal stuff, in the late 60s, early 70s, because up to that point, everything was about, like, he trained like a freaking rock. He trained like Bruce Lee did,
Mm-hmm.
right? Of course, Bruce Lee burned himself out, but he trained really, really hard, and they got hit with that and realized that's not true strength.
Mm-hmm.
It really is what's in the scrolls, right?
Mm-hmm.
Adaptability and strategic thinking and these kind of things, that these things will eventually be stripped away from you, whether it's age, whether it's an accident. I've got guys that are combat vets and stuff that, you know, the back is screwed up or whatever, right? And but still, shit can happen at any moment. So we need weapons in different places, and things that we can still do. And I think that's where, again, even people that you know, they just swear by the sport martial arts. And I'm not knocking those things, but when they knock our stuff or when they knock my videos or whatever, they're drawing a comparison between, you can't do this thing. Even Joe Rogan, right? At that stage, you're screwed, whatever. Ninjutsu is all about being the frickin' underdog who's supposed to lose and having tricks up your sleeve that you can't. But we have to extend beyond uh, the physical, you know, the dive rolls through obstacle courses and whatever. I mean, I can still roll. I can still do those things. I just don't do them a lot because I do them enough to stay able.
Mm-hmm.
But like, if I teach that for a class, I can't be teaching for another day and a half, because the body gets rattled.
Right.
And the arthritic bones and
To fight
discs
nature
and
is
things.
to suffer.
Yeah. So, but at the same time, right, if I go to the ground, I'm going to have to do things. I mean, I got tripped up in the dog's leashes one time. One got off, slipped his leash to go after the dog next door, right? And it was Sparky. And so,
My boy.
Bug, everything got taut, right? And I bolted after him, tripped over this thing, right? Went off the porch, front porch, right? So there's those steps, right?
Yeah.
Hit the sidewalk, rolled back on my feet, went right after the dog, got the dog, that kind of thing, right?
Bet your hips hurt when you got home.
I was so pissed at that dog because, man, did I hurt, right? And not because I hit bone points or anything like that. I didn't, right?
No.
But like all that vibration to the system. So, I mean, it was a little bit of a validating moment as well, that, like, you know, just like when I was a cop, I've never been a runner, right? I'll speed walk somebody's legs off, right? But to run, oh man, when I catch you, it's not going to go well for you. That kind of thing. Yeah. So, and I recovered very quickly. It wasn't a day, whatever, because I was teaching the next day and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, there was no mats involved or anything like that. So anyway, so